Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're going to answer all of your mailbag questions on, it was really our first big mailbag show of the year, and this is what we're going to try to keep doing every week going forward, is doing a mailbag show, getting, it's easier to, help you guys out with actually answering your questions, and the topics can always change, and it's a lot of stuff I think, Jeff, that I don't think about sometimes, you don't think about, so it's kind of nice to get some different ideas when we get into this. I always have fun with the mailbag show. But before we get into that, make sure you guys go check us out on Twitter at the FF Prophet or Instagram, Fantasy Football Prophet, or go to subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/Fantasy Football Prophet. We're going to jump right into it, Jeff. We're going to start off with some keeper questions. We did get a few keeper questions. It is that time of year. So we'll start off with the first one. Fantasy Football Prime on Instagram asks us, he has a keeper question. It's Michael Thomas or Leonard Fournette. And I don't know league format or anything or any kind of cost. So it's just straight up. It asks you, Michael Thomas or Leonard Fournette, which one do you want?
I mean, me, it's clear cut. I would go Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be Fournette, especially if we don't really know the difference here if it's standard or PPR. It doesn't really even matter to me. I'm going to go Fournette in either format. It's not going to change. I want the top running back if you can get him. So not going to hesitate with that one. It's going to be Leonard Fournette, pretty easy. But the second one from Damn Work in a half-point PPR, Derrick Henry in the 8th round or Chris Thompson in the 13th. Now, I know no Darius Geis, Thompson. I don't know. He might get a lot of work. But where are you leaning there?
I don't know if we'll differ on this one, but I would go Derrick Henry. I am kind of high on him, higher than most people, I should say. I think he's going to be safe. I think 8th round is still a very good place for him. And Chris Thompson, even though he might get more receptions, so maybe that half point, comes into play, I think he's much more of a risky pick. And I think Derrick Henry, you would be definitely using him to buoy your running back team. So I think he'd be able to be used no matter what.
Yep. I'm going to go Derrick Henry too, because I think 8th round, the potential player you're getting could be much better than that. And Chris Thompson, I like Chris Thompson, but I'm not sold on it. And it sounds like he's not quite healthy yet from the injury he had last year. And from what he's saying, it might be a few months before he is completely healthy. I know he'll start the year. He should be fine, but Derrick Henry still could be a guy that's used quite a bit. We don't really know how it's going to shake out with Dion Lewis yet. We know Chris Thompson's going to be in some kind of committee type thing. Derrick Henry should be too, but probably still more the Derrick Henry side. So I'm definitely going to go Derrick Henry. And yeah, it's half point PPR, so maybe you like Chris Thompson a little more sometimes, but no, Derrick Henry all day for me there. All right, let's go to Blue Label Kazos asks. It's another keeper question. So far, he already had his, or not really a keeper question, but it's partially that. His keepers are Saquon Barkley, Devontae Adams, Kirk Cousins. So now that he gets to the draft, in the first round of their draft, he has pick number 8. But it's not a snake draft, so he has pick 8. So then he goes pick 8 in the next round, and how that goes. So his question is, chances are he's going to be left with either Jay Ajayi, Derrick Henry, or Tevin Coleman. But there should be plenty of receivers left, such as Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, or tight ends like Rob Gronkowski. So he's asking, should I risk going receiver first and having to wait 10 more picks for a low-end running back? Or do I go with a decent number 2 running back first? That's an interesting... That's a tough one. What are you thinking?
Hold on, I'm kind of confused by this. So it's not a snake draft.
No.
So this is just who you're putting up for auction?
No, this is just, he has the 8th pick in the draft. 8th pick. And so all these guys are kept. So he's thinking like the top players left are going to be Ajayi, Henry, Coleman. So do you skip on one of those and go with, if the receiver's a little better, like Evans or Diggs or a Gronk? Or if you don't take the running back there, what are you going to get at the 8th pick of the second?
Makes it tough. That is a very tough one. I think in that situation, You take it with a grain of salt because I am a running back guy, and I do believe that you want to make sure that you have that, that position filled. So I would personally go running back, but I also like Ajayi and Derrick Henry, right? If you don't believe in those two, then no, I would go for the safer pick in Gronk or a high end wide receiver. But I believe in Derrick Henry. I would take him instead of those because I think I can make up for wide receiver.
And yeah, it's pretty much. I wouldn't just go running back only because it's going running back. It's like, yeah, you have to believe in the guy. I do believe in Ajayi. I don't believe in Henry enough to go like Mike Evans or Diggs over him. I would go Evans or Diggs over Henry and just hope there's somebody there with the next one. I just want the talent, but I believe in Ajayi enough to make the pick. But it's still, it's still, even though I know you want the talent there, it would be really tough to pass up running back and knowing if that's what's left here and now, what are you going to get the next time around? It just might be, or you know what? Because there's probably, I bet you anything, there's probably other players available. If you go like Evans or Diggs, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a Marshawn Lynch out there. You know, I feel safe.
Yeah, I mean,
that might not be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you could make up for it, but I think the chances are way less. So, I mean, just playing odds here because I don't know who exactly will be out there. I lean running back, but yes, I do agree with that. If you can get an amazing tight end, an amazing wide receiver, and think that there'll be a few guys left in the running back pool where you can make up for that, I'm totally on board with trying that. It's more difficult. That's kind of all I'm saying.
True. Is there any chance you go Gronk, or just skip the tight end? Not even a thought.
I mean, I'm trying to think. It really I'll say this. It really all depends on who is out there. And once again, I have to believe in them, especially waiting so many picks. It's possible I wouldn't Gronk, but in that position where he'd have to be taken, I know there's going to be a few other guys out there. So I would say no. More than likely, I would not.
But yeah, I'm going to go like Ajayi if he's there. Yeah, you'd go Ajayi, Henry. I mean, I like Henry. I just don't believe in it enough over Evans or Diggs. And you know I'm a Diggs guy anyway, and an Evans guy.
Right. Yeah, and I'm neither.
So I guess that does change, what I'm going to do there. But yeah, but still you want talent. Don't just go for position. I'll say that. That's for sure. If it's similar for you, you pick probably the position if the players are similar. But if you like those wide receivers better, pick them. That's, what I would say there. So the next one is going to be Nicholas. He asks, he can only keep one player. Larry Fitzgerald, Travis Kelce, or Jarvis Landry.
Well, that's a good one. Which one would you go with?
I've thought about this one a little bit. And I kind of think I'm picking Travis Kelce, actually.
I would actually as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like Fitzgerald, I like Landry, but not enough to take. I mean, with Kelce, you're getting either the number 1 or number 2 tight end in the league. Fitzgerald, Landry, you're getting a wide receiver 2. That's all you're getting, but you're getting the number 1, number 2 tight end. So, yeah, I think that's the spot where I definitely go Kelce. I think you lock yourself up with a great player, and you should still be able to get Fitzgerald, Landry level players in the draft, no problem.
Exactly. I think Kelce offers more of an advantage.
Definitely. I agree. Yeah, because if you're not keeping Fitzgerald and Landry, they're going to be out there. Chances are you can just pick them up then. Yeah, they're going to be Kelce for me. All right, so Mr. 2G asks, is Joe Mixon going to break out this year?
Oh, the $1 million question.
Is he? Maybe. He might.
Maybe. I like it.
I don't know.
So if you had to say breakout or not, which one would you do? Kind of over under kind of deal.
I'm leaning towards breakout. I'm like 75. I'd go 75% on the breakout side, 25% on the non-breakout side. I just think the talent is there. I think it's going to shine through, and I think he's going to be good. I know there's hesitation, but I just think it's going to happen. I think he's too good, and he's going to break out. But then again, I'm not going to reach for him. I'm not confident enough to reach for him. I just really believe it is going to happen.
Yeah, and I guess that would be the question. What would you consider a breakout? So as soon as you define that, we can kind of tell. But I mean, what was he last year? So Joe Mixon was 32nd. I think I have him ranked in the top 15. I would consider that a breakout. So I rank him as a breakout player. So yes,
That's the problem though with Mixon is we're ranking him at what we think, he where his breakout could happen. That's the way I hate drafting him, even though I like the guy.
100%. He comes with way more risk than a lot of the other running backs, but he's at that position where anyone below him has major question marks as well. So, and that's hence why we rank him in the top 15. I believe you have him up there as well.
Yeah, I think I'm actually 13th for me now.
13th.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, unless you think a breakout is he has to be in the top 10, then no, I would say no. But he's doubling his position. He's going to be a major running back to have. He will be a running back one in, multiple weeks during the season. Then yes, I would say he is with risk, but I think that risk is worth it.
Yep. I think so. Because we're saying the guy, when the players after him, I'm not a fan of most of them. I do like Christian McCaffrey, who's usually around him, but I'm not sold on Jerick McKinnon. Obviously, you go lower, like the Alex Collins type. I think if anybody listened to yesterday's show, they know I'm not an Alex Collins fan. So it's just, there's not a lot of guys there. There's no workhorse backs, and Mixon's going to be the closest thing to a workhorse back, I think, in that range. There's just not many of them out there. So that's Mixon. Yeah, I think he's going to be good. We'll leave it at that. So Seth asked, he's in a league where quarterbacks score 6 points per touchdown, and then also an additional point per 15 yards. So when would you go for a QB like Rodgers? So per 15 yards is a little bit more than we usually play. You get a point per 25 yards typically, I believe, or not even that.
Yes, exactly.
No, not like
25.
Point, it's like 1 point for 25. So 1 point for 15 is a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it changes my mindset though enough. I still don't think it does, because I still think the whole point of it is unless it's two QBs don't change their value enough for me where there's still enough good ones where like Rodgers, I personally, I'm waiting. I understand he could be drafted earlier than what I want to do it, but I don't recommend it until, I don't even know what round I would say anymore. I mean, last year we were saying in the third we would grab him. We would maybe the fourth. I still probably would in the fourth, but I don't think you're going to get him.
Yeah, no, I think I had to look this up as well. I just wanted to see a list of quarterbacks ranked by yardage just to make sure I wasn't way off. And yeah, I know that there has been years where quarterbacks blow up and they throw over 5,000 yards. It's very rare. But yardage doesn't really mess with a QB's ranking that much, because obviously touchdowns are involved very heavily. Rushing is involved very heavily. I think where it actually affects it is closer to the end of the first 10 quarterbacks. So like Phillip Rivers was actually second in yardage last year. And he ranked near the end. So maybe a player like that, you can actually get a little bit more of a value on, but Aaron Rodgers is still going to be ranked number one for me, and Tom Brady is going to be up there. Drew Brees, Roethlisberger, Stafford. None of that really changes. Russell Wilson as well. He throws so many touchdowns, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. I think the thing about this is if you wait on quarterback like I like to do, I can get even more of a value, because I think it just makes everyone a little bit closer.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. This year, there's so many quarterbacks. I'm going to wait. I'm waiting. I'm waiting and picking up Andrew Luck a lot. That's what I've been doing. That's what I think. You can get Andrew Luck in like the 8th round, 9th round. I'd rather do that than pick Rodgers in the 3rd or 4th. I just think that the difference between the two isn't going to be great enough to make that much of a round difference in drafting a quarterback. So, yeah, I can't see a scenario where I'm getting a quarterback early. Not this year at least. So, let's move on to the next one. It's going to be Lottie Dodd. Is it worth holding on to Mark Ingram and waiting 4 weeks, or should I use him for trade bait for a player like Kenyan Drake?
That is a very good question. Because Drake will be ranked higher than Mark Ingram. But that's because of the suspension. So for me, and once again, I hate to have all these caveats to my answers, but at the same time, I believe that it would matter what the rest of your team looks like. I would personally go towards Mark Ingram. I think I can draft around him. I hope that my team could support that because I think Mark Ingram, after that first 4 weeks, is going to be a better player. But if I didn't have another running back that I could, support myself with, Drake might be a needed kind of, pillar in order to make sure I can get through not only the first 4 weeks, but farther on. But I would inch towards Mark Ingram.
I think I would too. I think I would. If you're drafting Mark Ingram, you're drafting him knowing that you have to wait on him anyway. So you should have already planned that. There is a little hesitation for me with Mark Ingram based on the fact that we don't 100% know what he will be coming back into when he gets there week 5. Is his role changed? I mean, there's always been that, we've said it before, is him and Sean Payton for some reason don't seem to quite always get along. There's always that. And it's possible he's also going to be a free agent after this year. So do they just move on from him already? It's a weird, they could and just not use him as much. I mean, they did it to Willie Snead last year. He was going to be a big part of everything. He gets suspended, he comes back, and he doesn't have a role anymore. Ingram's a better player than that, but there's some risk behind it. But if you get him as your third, I think you're fine. And he needs to be your third running back, though. If he's your third running back, then you can wait. It's not a big deal. I don't even like a Kenyan Drake that much, to be honest. I'm not the biggest Kenyan Drake fan in the world. So, yeah, I think you hold on to Mark Ingram just for the potential top 10 upside. Top 5 upside is what he was last year, basically. But for sure, he has that weeks 5 through, 13 he could be a top 10 back for sure.
Yeah. And I actually do have a question for you. If we go along these same lines, and neither of us really like Drake all that much because of the situations and he hasn't really shown us year after year he can produce yet, but he does have flashes. But he's only ranked one spot lower than Ajayi. If this question was the same thing going either Ingram or Ajayi, where, Drake is 19, Ajayi is 18, I'm assuming that you would jump and say Ajayi, no problem.
Oh, yeah, I'd do that deal. Yep. Just I like Ajayi as a player so much better.
Yes, and I think that is something to take into account because I say Drake, I would say no, I would go Ingram. But all of a sudden you get even 2 spots higher, and it turns into an entirely different question. So, just because we say I would take Ingram over Drake, it's a fine line where you would take that deal.
Yeah, no, it just depends on which player you like. We're not Drake fans. I'm not the biggest Drake fan, but yeah, Ajayi I would. You probably you wouldn't for Ajayi, I bet.
No, yeah, I'll still go Ingram.
I'm saying like every week you have Ingram on your team, he becomes that much more valuable because he's that much closer to playing. So he's at his lowest value right now. He's going to get more valuable after week 1 and then week 2. So yes,
and just to show you, even though I totally agree, Craig has a very valid point. It doesn't ever feel like the Saints really want him on the team.
They still use him, though.
I know, a lot. And the last 4 years, he was 15th, 10th, and 6th. And I realize that 6th may be a lot to ask. But also, if you can survive those first 4 games, you're going to get that type of player. And the last 2 years, he played a full season. The 2 years before that, when he was 15th, he only played 13 and 12 games. So he's very, very deadly when he's playing. And to think that he missed 4 games in 2015 and still ranked 15th, and they run more now than they did then, it leads you to believe that there's a possibility that he could still be that top 20 running back, even missing 4 games. And that would definitely overshadow someone like Drake, who we believe is going to be ranked 20th even with a full season.
Yeah, especially because as much as I like Kamara, he's not a workhorse back, and I don't think he ever will be. So there will be carries waiting. And who do they have? Terrence West now? Terrence West really going to be able to hold off Mark Ingram? Kind of highly doubt that.
I hope not, but yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Vincent. So it says, say that you have the 3rd pick in a PPR league and Zeke and Bell were taken as 1 and 2. Are you picking David Johnson or someone else?
Oh, that's a solid question. Who would you take, Craig? I have a feeling we're going to take the same person.
Gurley?
Yeah, exactly. I would take Gurley.
You would have been my number 1 pick, so I would pick Gurley all day. No hesitation. So definitely Gurley. But hey, if you like David Johnson, I'm fine with it. I really am. If I don't care what order somebody likes these top four backs, you can make an argument for any of them. So if you like David Johnson better than you like Gurley, sure, take David Johnson. I just like Gurley better than any of the four of them, but I can see the arguments for any of them. I wouldn't fault anybody for that.
Yes, and to his point, I understand like David Johnson, you think he's a pass catching back, which he absolutely is, but at the same time, if you look at Gurley's numbers, last year he caught 64 balls for nearly 800 yards and 6 touchdowns. Maybe doesn't repeat that, but he's not nearly as far back as he used to be in the pass game. So I don't think PPR hurts him nearly as much.
All right, so Kieran asks, simple question, Saquon or Kamara? Which is a good question. It is.
Is this something we're actually going to differ on? Because I go Kamara, you know that.
Yep, and I'm going to go Barkley, but it's only one spot difference.
Yeah, it's very close.
It's very close. They're both top 10 backs for us. Again, this is another one of those where if somebody wants to go the other way that I do, I get it. I 100% get it. I don't think you go wrong. That's why I don't really think you can go wrong with the first, 7, 8, 9 backs this year, 10 backs almost. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them if you really feel strongly about it. Melvin Gordon could be up in there. Leonard Fournette. You really can't go wrong, I feel like. I think there's so many good players this year.
Well, I would say this. You can go wrong. I think I wouldn't crucify you by any means, but I think there are two tiers. So I would say in the first four, I have a clear cut. It's Gurley, Bell, Zeke, and Johnson. And then after that, I don't really care too much how you do 5 through 10.
Yeah.
But, I have my own personal ones, but it's very easy to make a case for any of them. So I'd say two tiers, but in those, mix them up however you like.
Well, this kind of is the same question then the next one. It's David Goldberg asked, so Bell, Zeke, Gurley, David Johnson, Antonio Brown are gone. Who are you taking at the 6th pick in PPR?
Oh, I think, okay, this is actually a good question.
Do you go Kamara or do you go, for you personally, Kamara, or is it like DeAndre Hopkins?
Oh, no, I still go Kamara all day.
And then for me,
well, that's actually, that is, I was wondering, are you really?
Yeah. I feel strong enough about him.
All right. Even though Kamara already showed he caught 81 balls last year.
He did. I know.
So, okay, you go upside. I mean, I get it. We don't know exactly what Saquon's going to do. He's a terrific running back as far as we know. He's already shown in the preseason. I totally understand where you're coming from, but for me, it's a stretch, especially when Kamara is so good in the passing game already.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm going to be on not the winning argument. Not going to have a lot of people on my side necessarily, but that's where I'm going to go. And I know this next question is going to come from Fantasy Gridiron on Instagram, and he definitely doesn't agree with me on Saquon over Kamara. I already know that. So I know he wouldn't agree with me if he's listening to this. So his question, though, it's some players we've already talked about, actually. Derrick Henry, Jay Ajayi, or Mark Ingram. Who do you choose? Henry, Ajayi, Ingram. Seems like those players have been talked about a few times.
Yeah, and for good reason. I think when you get down to this spot, it's hard to differentiate, especially Ingram is suspended. Ajayi is supposed to get an extended role, and then Henry was supposed to be anointed as a top 10 back, and now Deion Lewis threw it in there. The closer I get to the start of the season with these three, the more I tend to go Derrick Henry. I like his skill set. I think they're going to have to run a lot. He's going to get all the goal line work. I go Henry, even though I think all three I like quite a bit, actually.
And I guess, anybody that's already listened to the rest of the show knows I'm going to go Jay Ajayi.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same kind of players who got the question. I'm going to Ajayi. My list would be Ajayi, Henry, Ingram right now, even though I do like Ingram more, but the 4 games obviously has to factor. So he drops because of that. But all right, that's the last question of the mailbag this week. So we'll keep doing these, I think, every week pretty much going forward. So if you guys have questions, just email us, fantasyfootballprophet@gmail.com, or go on Twitter, send us a DM there, go on Instagram, send us a message there. We'll put a post up every week that you can just comment on, get your questions in. And we will definitely, brings up some different topics and players that we might not have talked about, Jay Ajayi, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram as much. So we'll talk about those guys a little bit. So I think that's going to do it. We will talk to you guys next week.